Hey folks, welcome to another review with yours truly, Sam Healey, right here on the Dice Tower. Thanks for joining us. Today we're going to be taking a look at Nyakuza. This is put out by Simon, but it is a reprint and retheme of a game called Orongo from 2014. It is designed by Reiner Knizia, so that might turn some heads. But anyway, let's go ahead and get down to the table and see what we can see. So Nyakuza is a bidding game where players are trying to race to build the grand market stall first. In order to do that, they have to build all 5 of theirs and then have enough money and resources to build the final market stall. And whomever is able to do that first is the winner. Now, if the game comes to a halt where nobody has the ability to build the grand market stall, then whomever has built the most market stalls, and then there are a few tiebreakers in there. But basically, you're trying to gather the resources that you need to build stalls on the docks and build the Grandmaster stall. Now, the game sets up differently for the different number of players that are out there. In a 4-player game, which is what I have set up, there are 8 resource tiles that are put into the bay to start the game off for the first round. And that's the first thing that you'll do on subsequent turns as well. You'll put out, in a 4-player game, you'll put out 4 new resource tiles out of the bag here, and they all have their own number and their own spot on the board where they're supposed to be going. The second thing then will be to bid on how many boats you're going to be able to place out in the bay. And you'll use your Kobans in order to do that, or your money in order to do that. Everybody starts the game in a 4-player game with 12 Kobans. Now, the player who has the highest bid is going to be able to take 3 of their boats and place them out on resource tiles or dock spaces or deep water spaces throughout the course of their turn. People with the second highest bid will be able to take 2 of their boats and place them out there. And the players with the lowest bids are going to be able to place out 1 of their boats. There is also the opportunity of bidding 0. If you bid 0, you are relinquishing the opportunity to place 1 of your boats on the board, but you will be able to take an amount of gold that is in the dock area right here, which is where people who won the bid are going to be placing their money. Now, normally you're going to put your Kobans behind your shield so that nobody can see how many you have, but your boats and your market stalls can be kept out in front of your shield so that everybody can see it. Now, the bidding is done blind bid, but let's just say that this is the blind bid that was out there. So what would happen in this particular case is that all 3 of these Kobans would go in here. Everybody else's Kobans would go back to them, and red and blue would both be able to place 1 boat. Green would be able to place 3, and purple would be able to place 2. So, starting with the player who won the bid, who gets the pendant, they are able to now start placing their boats out into the bay. When you place your boats onto the bay, they have to go onto an open resource tile. So maybe green would want to do something like that right there and place it on this driftwood. Then purple would be able to place 1 of theirs, and let's say purple will go down here for this crab shack right there. And then starting with red, they would be able to place 1 of theirs out. Let's say that he wants to go right here. And then blue will be able to place his out, and he wants to place it on this driftwood up here. And then green will be able to place, and we'll say that he wants to go right here. Purple will then place, and let's say that he will go right here, and then green is able to place as well, and they take the final one right there. Now, once you have a boat on a resource tile, you do have other places where you can place your boats. For example, for these 2 boats right here, they could place in one of these 2 adjacent dock areas if they wanted to, but in order to place on a dock area, you have to have a boat that's adjacent. You could also place in these deep water areas in the board, because these boats will be able to act like bridges to some of the other resource tiles, or to the dock as well. So for example, the last one that green could place here could be right here, so that on a future turn they would be able to possibly place a boat on one of those two dock spaces there. Once everybody has placed their boats, then that will be the end of the turn. The bag of resource tiles is passed to whomever is the first player owning the amulet. And as I said earlier, in a 4-player game, new tiles are drawn from the bag, 4 of them, and they are placed where they are supposed to be placed according to their number, like so. And we've got one more, and 16 will come out, and that is right here. And so now at this point, everybody's going to bid again to see how many they're going to take. And so now that everybody has bid, we see that red player really wanted to go first, so they bid 4. So they will go ahead and have the amulet token on theirs, and then they have to put all of their Kobins into the dock area over here. Everybody else gets theirs back. And green and purple are both going to be able to place 2 boats. Blue, because they were the lowest, so place 1 again, and now red is able to place 3. In order to build stalls, we have to be able to have boats on these resources and have a boat on a dock space that is connected to those resources in some way, and then you'll be able to build one of those docks. So what you're really trying to do is you're looking for these combinations plus a dock area in order to build a stall. So this one right here shows that this driftwood is connected to this dock space with green's boats. So we have a driftwood piece, a dock space, and we're able to build a market stall with that. Now what you have to be able to do is that will stay on there, but because we've used that resource, we have to put 1 Kobin on top of our boat to denote that we've used that resource, and then we're also able to take one of our market stalls and we put the boat on top of it just like that to denote that that is green's market stall. Over here, when red placed this final piece, as you can see, 2 crabs and a dock space can equal a market stall. So we have 2 crabs here that are connected to that dock space. So what will happen here is that red will take 2 Kobins just like that, and then they will be able to also take a market stall and place this on top just like this. Now on future rounds, red will not be able to use these 2 crabs to build another stall. These 2 resources are funding that stall, just like this green driftwood resource place is funding this one, so it won't be able to be used again to build another stall in the future. And so as we've gone into the next round, I've already gone ahead and placed out 4 new resource spaces, and we've already simulated the bidding round. Blue is tired of going last, so it bid 4 this time, so it's going to go ahead and pay that in. They'll be able to put out 3 boats this time, and they also get the amulet. Green and purple both paid 2nd highest, so they're both going to be able to place 2 of theirs, but they get their bid back like this. Red didn't bid anything down here, so they are going to be able to take this entire pot of money, and that is probably a really bad thing, because it's going to give him a lot of bidding power, and everybody else is going to be a little low. It probably would have been better for green or purple to also bid 0, just in case red was going to do that, so that it would have to be split. So if there's multiple people that bid 0, you actually take, let's just say for example, green also bid 0, we would have to then split it up as evenly as possible, so that's 5 and 5. So this one would stay here, this would go to red, and then this right here would come over here to green, And of course, they would not be placing any boats this turn. Just blue and purple will place their boats this turn. And this is how the game progresses until, as I said earlier, one player is able to build the grand market stall. If the game comes to a place where no one is able to build any more stalls, including the grand market stall, then whomever has placed the most market stalls will have won the game at that point. But that's how you play Nyakuza. So that is Nyakuza, and I have to say, in true Reiner Knizia fashion, this is a bidding game of bidding games. I do enjoy the bidding in this game. It's very tense. It's very calculated as well, because you do want to keep track of not just how much money you have, but how much money you're going to need in order to get to where you want to get before everybody else, and that is to build the grand market stall first. I would like to say that money is pretty tight, and the reason I say that is because it doesn't really seem like it is at the beginning. As you get into the game and you have to start using that money to build your market stalls, placing them down on those different resources, you begin to see just how tight the money really is, and you think, oh, well, I can just bid zero anytime I want and I'll get more money. Well, that's true, but how much money you get is largely dependent upon who might be thinking the exact same way as you do at that point. So there is not just bidding in this game. There's also trying to outthink your opponent, trying to outwit your opponent, trying to get them to think that you really want to do this when all you really want to do is pass so you can get some more money. That's the kind of stuff that really kind of makes this game clip along at a pretty good pace. And then one of the linchpins of the game is when those resource tiles come out. In a 4-player game, you're going to use all of the resource tiles before, well, probably before anybody's going to be able to build the final market stall. And man alive, it can be very grueling waiting for the right tiles to come out because of where you've placed your boats in previous turns. So it's a really tight, very rewarding game if it works out for you, that is. But let's get to my pros and cons. My first pro of the game is going to be the artwork. And the reason I'm not saying graphic design is because we'll talk about that in just a little bit. But the artwork is good and it is very inviting. It's very light. It's very comical, if I can use that. Having all of these like gangster style kittens on everybody's player boards is really kind of a draw for the game. People were drawn to the game based on the box cover alone, and then how simple it was to play was also a draw, but we'll get to that in just a few moments. The thing that I really like about it is how cutesy it is, if I can use that word, but also how thematic it is, because they did kind of give everybody their own look, their own feel, so to speak. There's no variable player powers or anything like that. I'm not trying to overspeak it, but the artwork is really kind of a cool factor here, and that was my first pro of the game because it did have a draw based on the artwork alone, so I wanted to mention that. Secondarily, the gameplay is pretty simple because you're just bidding money, and when you're bidding money, whoever has the most gets to place the most boats out. That's intuitive. And if you don't bid anything, you don't get to put any boats out, but you do get to get some income, which is going to be needful for you to continue staying in the game. I really did enjoy how much this game really kind of flowed with the ease of the mechanisms that were used. There were people that kind of struggled with how much they should bid and where they should place their boats and all of that kind of stuff. That was a little bit of a difficult thing for some people to grasp. But generally speaking, overall, the gameplay was intuitive and simple, which makes for a good time. The component quality is my next pro, and while I wasn't a huge fan of the boats, for a very specific reason. I did like their functionality a lot. I also liked the canvas bag. That was a thematic flair for the game. I thought those were neat as well. At first, I did not like the market stall pieces because of how they felt, but they were also, I'm going to reuse the word functional, because all they really need to do is hold that boat up to denote whose stall it is. Otherwise, you're good to go. Do I think that these could stand to be upgraded by something? Sure. But I'm not going to tell you to go out and purchase a bunch of aftermarket stuff for this game because of how simple and easy it is to play and get to the table as is. But the Koban tokens are regular cardboard stock. These shields do well at standing up on their own. They are slightly flimsy, but they, again, do the job that they are required to do in hiding how much money you have. But at the same time, they also give you that player aid that tells you what resources need to be combined together to build those different market stalls. So you had functional player aids built into the screens, which I think is a good idea. That's one of the reasons why I really did enjoy the components for this. Not flash, not a lot of glitzy glamour as far as the components are concerned, but functional and useful. Unfortunately, I think that's going to be it for my pros, though. We're going to head into my cons, and some of the cons are taken by themselves, aren't really necessarily big deals, but at the same time, when they're put together, it kind of gums up the game a little bit. One of the things that we'll talk about as a con is the decision that was made to have these be translucent. And I get that they kind of need to be translucent when they're laying on the resources so that you can better work out what resources you have and how you're going to build a market stall. I get that. They need to be translucent so you can kind of see through them to the resource that's on top of it. But the colors that were used, especially in low light, these two colors look very similar. As a matter of fact, as I'm showing them to you right now, you might not be able to have a very good idea of which is which. Colorblind people are probably going to struggle even more with these. And the same thing is true with the other two, although not as much. But still, there's a lot of similarity there. And if you get into a situation where you don't have a whole lot of light, that can be a real problem because you might think that you have. And this actually did happen in some of our games. A person thought they had a specific resource because they were the red player and the purple player had their boat on that resource and they couldn't tell the difference. Another con for the game for me and other people that we played with are the difference between the two fish that are used. I believe they are tuna and salmon, I want to say. Yeah, salmon and tuna. And the two pictures, the illustration for the two fish are very similar, except for their color and the direction that they're facing. And that was problematic in our games as well. People got confused over which was which many times, and we had to sometimes retcon so that, because it was very clear, they would not have placed their boat on that resource tile if they had been able to differentiate more easily. Now, you might be saying, well, just pay attention to what you're doing. Yeah, that's true. But when you get possibly in low light situations, or if you're just kind of trying to keep too much information in your head at the same time, you can get the two confused really easily. So that's another con. I think the two fish icons in this are just too similar, and that's unfortunate. So while those two things aren't really a huge deal, together they're kind of a big deal because it really kind of gums up how smoothly the game works from time to time. So that's that. So my rating for Nyakuza is going to be a 7 out of 10, and I really did want to like this game more than I did. It's not that I disliked it, I just wanted to like it more because Reiner Knizia is a prolific, and he's, let's face it, he's one of the OGs, right? Often Reiner Knizia's games go off like gangbusters at gateway type situations, and I run a lot of board game nights and board game days and that kind of stuff. Events where we have possibly new people coming into the hobby and wanted to try out some new games. And usually, Reiner Knizia is a pretty good go-to for those kinds of situations. So I really wanted to like this one much more than I do, but that isn't to say that I don't. A 7 out of 10 is still a good rating, in my opinion. But I really wanted it to be like an 8 or a 9 or something to that effect so that I could keep it in my collection and really use it and feel comfortable doing that. A 7 out of 10 for me. Unfortunately, the two cons that I showed really were heavy hitters for me because it messes with the gameplay, and you can actually make mistakes based upon tricks that your eyes are playing on you from different at different junctures, and that was just a big thing in a number of the people that I played this with. So take that for what it's worth. It's a 7 out of 10 for me. Still a good rating, I think, but just be aware of those cons whenever you pick it up and play it. Be careful with where you're placing your boats, and make sure you're not placing it on 2 tunas or 2 salmon, thinking that you got one of each. Anyway, that's it from me. Thanks for joining me. I certainly appreciate it. We'll see you guys and gals on the flip side. Take care.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you like this review or whatever you just watched, wasn't it amazing? Check out our channel, Dice Tower. We have all kinds of things. We review games, we do top 10s, we play games live. It's all about board games, but especially the people who play them. Check out Dice Tower YouTube channel.